How am I supposed to know what your dreams are in life when all you do is poop and play video games, sometimes at the same time? What's up, guys? My name's Jeff. That's Mike.
Hey.
We are My Wife Still Likes Me, and on today's episode, my kids are in the room, so we're going to have to be kid-friendly. Hey, how you doing?
Oh, it's gonna be fun.
Oh, I don't even know if it sounds good or not. I should probably listen to it.
You remember that show? Are we recording?
Yeah, I don't know where to put stuff like this. Like, this is great stuff. Mike, what's going on? Fix your collar.
Fix my collar. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that bothering you? My wife didn't dress me today. Sorry.
I'm colorblind. I have to ask my wife what color the pants are so that I don't wear shirt and pants that are the same color.
Are you not supposed to do that?
No.
Oh. Okay. Thank goodness I'm married. So I would have no idea.
Where would we be, right?
Looks good to me. It fits. That's all I care about.
Yeah. Pick a question for us.
Uncommon questions again. Let's just pick one from the top.
So, there's that many questions. We talked about the dirty version. I'll link the clean version on Amazon. If you want to find it, you can go find it. What do we got?
This one's deep. This one is deep. If you could take away the negative health effects of one food or other item, what would it be and how much would you use it? Right? You're like, oh, just one?
Right?
If I could do that, it'd be all the foods that I
All
love
the
to eat.
yeah. Probably Dr. Pepper Mountain Dew. And I'd drink it constantly.
It's hard to pick one. It's hard to pick just one.
If Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper could have the same effects on the body as water. Oh,
There's
bro.
water in it, though.
It doesn't have the same effect, though. That would be great.
Oh, my goodness. For
One
me,
food.
or item. It does.
One
or,
item.
Or item. It says
item.
or item. Food or other item.
Food or other item. It's probably still Mountain Dew or Dr. Pepper.
Negative health effects. What is the negative health effects? Obviously, I went to food first because I love to eat.
Right?
Kids are having pizza. I love pizza.
Oh, bro. I had pizza
Absolutely.
for breakfast today.
Yeah. And see, that's where I'm like,
So funny.
the carbs.
This is a horrible story. So, random foods for breakfast. I'm an Uber driver.
Yeah.
So I left to go to work one day at like 6 in the morning to go drive. And I wasn't thinking about it. I stopped to get a soda and some M&Ms at the gas station at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I effectively had M&Ms and Dr. Pepper for breakfast.
Yeah.
At a dentist appointment at like 1 o'clock
Oh,
in the afternoon.
no. Oh, no. Hey,
And I
here we
totally
go.
forgot. So I told the lady that cleans my teeth, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I had M&Ms and Dr. Pepper for breakfast. She's like, that sounds pretty good, actually. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to clean it now. She's like, M&Ms aren't so bad. It's popcorn and like corn on the cob and
I
stuff like
bet
that.
that
I'm
stuff
like,
gets stuck.
I was like, generally speaking, don't people brush their teeth before they come to the dentist? I was like, you would think so. And I'm like, this is the first time I haven't.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like, oh, dentist appointment? I have a toothbrush and everything at work anyway.
Yeah, I would like plan for it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Anyway.
Now I love pizza. I mean, and
Oh.
I'm sure there's healthy pizzas out there. I've actually made
That tastes good?
that actually taste good. We made them at home. We've done the keto pizzas and stuff like that. You know, it's a cauliflower crust and whatnot. It's not bad. It's really not. But I love pizza. I could eat it every day. My wife really does not like pizza, and it's a hard time when she asks me what I want, and I just kind of look at her and go, you know what I want. Well,
Yeah.
we're talking about food, but
Sorry. Took me a minute.
I love pizza. The kids love pizza. The grandkids love pizza. My wife is not a big fan. So we find different things. They have like certain places have like the lasagna that you can get whatever pasta. She likes that. So, but I would eat pizza every day.
I think I'd probably eat a Philly cheesesteak every day,
Ooh.
especially from Uncle Sam's.
I gotta try that. I haven't tried it yet.
Bro, it's expensive, but it's this long.
Oh, okay. That's a week's worth.
No, it's that good. Like Kim and I
Oh.
will split. Oh, it's horrible. Kim and I split it in half because
My
it's
goodness.
like they order like quarter, half, and full. A quarter is one sandwich. Like the full,
Right.
yeah. So a quarter of that is enough for
Oh,
one
okay.
meal, and like
Oh, wow.
yeah. So when we get it, we try to make it 2 meals, and it's just so good.
Oh, oh,
Anyway,
nice.
sharing and being vulnerable with our spouses. And this is kind of like initially it sounds controversial, so let's put some context in here. Over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about prioritizing our wives
Yes.
and not bringing the stress of work
Right.
inside the house. It's okay to talk about it. Don't let the empty fumes, is a great word from Crosswalk, be taken out on your family.
Right.
So on the hook, how are we supposed to know what our dreams are when we don't talk about them? We're guys. We have struggles. We have fears. We also have dreams and desires.
Absolutely.
We have chosen to spend our lives with this person. But if we don't ever tell them what those dreams and desires are, we can't help them achieve them. And this looks different for everybody else. But it sounds horrible. Maybe it doesn't sound horrible. My wife was a waitress when we first moved back to Arizona.
Yeah.
And I love her. And this is part of communicating, listening, blah, blah, whatever. She was tired of being a waitress. I was tired of hearing about her being tired of being a waitress. And that's it's a little bit about sharing my frustration and stuff, but whatever. Like, so she would talk about it all the time, and I'm like, well, then go get another job. Go do this. Go
Right.
whatever. I don't care what you do. Be happy. And so eventually she ended up where she is now, and she's worked her way up. She's been there for almost a decade, and she's
Nice.
super successful in her job and is fantastic. But knowing where she wanted to go and like essentially helping her talk those things out, like, hey, what's the so you got promoted, what's the next step?
Right.
And like, well, I got to do this for a year. Okay, what's after that? Like, but that's a year from now. Like, and so asking those questions. But then even things like in our home life, what kind of kids do we want to have, or my career choices and changes and directions. Like, I have an entrepreneurial mindset and spirit, so I want to start a new career, job, business thing every 20 seconds or so.
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately, like, I don't want to work ever again. So I share those things with Kim. We talk about date night all the time. One of the things that Kim and I do is strategy meeting. It's a horrible name for a date night. We have a date night, no business. We just go out. We also have strategy meetings where we go out somewhere away from the kids and we sit down. We look at our calendars, like, hey, what's going on this month? But then we also talk about what does the next couple months look like? Where
Right.
do you want to be in a year? What do you want this piece to look like? That's how we ended up with a remodel. Hey, what do you think about painting the house pink? My house is blue, red, and black, by the way. My house was pink on the outside,
Right.
and it's not anymore. But then also the same things like you can express struggles from work
Yeah.
without the emotion, and emotion's not the right word. You can be passionate about your discussions and struggles with work, but you can do it without an emotional effect on your spouse or your kids.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of a continuation of last week. The point is to be vulnerable. Like, share those things. Like, don't just keep it all. And I know we're borderline controversial here. Like, is that the right word? Controversial? Yeah. Don't bring the stress in the door, but still tell your spouse about what you want out of life.
Yeah.
Because you're building this life together, right? What does that look like from your perspective, like building a life together?
Well, I sit there and I think about it, and the whole, how am I supposed to know what your dreams in life are if you don't tell me?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we last season we did communication. Communication is huge, and for those that are getting married soon or are recently married, you need to be having those conversations. You need to be having the strategy meetings. You need to be going, what do we want to do? When do we want to retire? You need to set that up. And obviously there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be setbacks, and you need to be prepared for that. But you need to begin that. Um, excuse me. I did a sermon weeks back about um, that same thing. How do people know what's going on in your life unless you tell them?
Right?
And this applies to your spouse.
Yeah.
And if you can't open up your feelings, we're men, and in my day, I'm a little older than you. Um, yeah, okay, but it was men don't show their feelings, men don't cry, men don't do this stuff, and it was drilled into me, and so that was hard for me to break. So I had to have everything together. I had to have, you know, all the answers. I had to know what's going on, and I had to be firm. And it was like I had to be the rock.
Yeah.
And that's fine until you get married.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we talked about last season, it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. You have to put in 100%, and your spouse has to put in 100%. There comes a moment where I'm not putting in 100% because I'm not sharing.
Yeah.
I'm not opening up. I'm not giving Stephanie my dreams. I'm not sharing my dreams with her about where I would like us to be or what I would like us
Sure.
to do. So as time grew, and I'm behind the times in this. I share. I share now,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's times where I can just look at her and break down and go, "This is what's going on," and she knows she doesn't need to fix it. And like again, last season we talked about fixing things, listening to listen and stuff like that.
Mhm.
She knows that. But early on in my marriage, when I would hold it in and things were bothering me, it was, what am I doing? And she looked at that she was doing something wrong. In all actuality, she wasn't. It was just me being stubborn, not opening up. So when we share as men with our wives, um, I've felt that helps to reaffirm your love and your trust for her. Because if you can do that, and in my case, and my wife will take that and be like, okay, he's opening up to me. That is huge because
Yeah.
I didn't. So I've grown in my marriage in that aspect, and it's kind of like, okay, I'm very vulnerable now. There's times where I don't want to be. Absolutely, the old self will kind of pop up, but um, being vulnerable is part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to be complete as a husband and wife, that's where the 100 comes in. You have to be completely open and honest, and they will accept it. That's their part. They may not always agree with it, and they may want to fix it. Men want to fix things, just like the nail in the head, the video we saw last
Mm-hmm.
season, and it's not what we're gonna do. We're listening to listen. Guys need that too, and
Yeah.
it's not just the
Oh,
women.
yeah. The listening to listen, listening for support, and listening to fix it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
And that's what I mean by guys being vulnerable. And that's, I go back to this. We talk about businesses have vision and direction and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Families do too,
Oh yeah.
right? And so you need whatever, it should be shared. I mean, we each have our individual goals. Like Kim and I don't do the same job. We tried to work together in a real job one time. That didn't work very well. I love my wife. I can't be like she can't be the boss. Not like because she's a woman. Like that's
Right,
not
right.
what I'm
No.
saying. I love her too much to be able to just take direction about performance evals at work.
Right.
That's anyway. She's a fantastic manager. I just can't be one of her employees.
Yeah.
And we joke about it now. That was Chick-fil-A was wonderful. It was a great place to
Oh,
work.
no.
I could not work for Kim at Chick-fil-A. That was just weird.
Oh wow.
There's a whole new meaning to the term "my pleasure."
Oh no. Oh no. Go on.
I went there. I'm sorry. Anyway, we're building a life together, and there needs to be a shared direction. Like we each have our individual things. Like I want
Yeah.
my wife to be as good at her profession as she possibly can, and whatever I can do to help her. And the same thing for me.
Yes.
When I have my random ideas to come up with shows like this, I big picture like I want to never work again.
Right.
That would be great. But ultimately for this, I hope that we just help people. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like there's the satisfaction I get out of this is that somebody stays married.
Yes.
Like that would be great. But she wants to ask questions like, do we have budget for this? Because this is all our own. Like this is our own stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, correction. We borrow one camera from the church. Everything else is our stuff. But I have this dream to go and do this, and we've talked about this. We've been talking about this for years about actually doing this, and Kim is very supportive. She wants to know how we're going to pay for it. That's why I'm an Uber driver, because I gotta do my part to support our family.
Absolutely.
But we talk about it together, like at our strategy meeting. That's like direction, like concrete, logistical things. But then there's times where we'll be sitting here watching TV, like, hey, what do you think about this topic? Or I'm thinking about doing this on the show, or I'd like to do this, or we were coming home from camping, and just things like we call it vulnerable, but sometimes it's just specific conversations about life, not just about the moment of what you're doing.
Right.
Like we were coming back from camping a month ago, and you've not been to my camping spot, so this would make more sense. But when you come back from the camping spot, you're tent camping, and it's further back where not a lot of the toy haulers can get.
Okay.
And we're coming back through, and I'm like, hey, what did you think about, toy hauler, like, side-by-side lifestyle? And, like, because I'd never asked her. Like, I don't know. Like, I would love to go bash around through the woods. And she's like, so we had a long conversation about her opinions on it. She's not opposed to it. It's expensive. Like, that was our both of us concern. I mean, there are some side-by-sides that cost more than all of my cars.
Yes. Yes.
But like, and then things like, where do you put a fifth wheel? Do we want a truck with hips? That kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, and then it went to a deeper conversation of, we see all these people doing stuff, and we see all these people doing things, and like, oh, I want to do that with my kids. Oh, I want to do that with my kids.
Right.
We're doing it. It doesn't look like the Joneses with the, $200,000 fifth wheel, but I'm tent camping with my kids.
Yeah.
And so like, that was being vulnerable. Like, I want to do those things with my kids, but then having the realization with your wife, with your kids in the back seat, with a truck full of camping gear, we're doing things. That's being vulnerable. Like, hey, we're actually like, we're not just talking about, ooh, I'd love to go do that one day. Go do it.
Yeah.
Within reason. Don't go broke to keep up with your neighbor, but if you got a blanket and a tent.
Yeah, take off.
And you don't live in Minnesota, you can go camping in Arizona almost every month of this year.
Yeah.
It might be cold, but anyway, sharing those kind of things. Like, I bought my kid's bike so we can go trail ride. I got to go trail riding with my son. Like, those are the kind of things like, I want my kids to do really, really well.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 of my kids have to go to reading intervention programs. That's fine. How do we make it happen?
Yeah.
But then also, like, the being vulnerable part is talking through how just because my kids need help learning how to read does not make me a failure as a father.
Right.
Those are the kind of vulnerable things. Like, talk about those things. Like, we're guys. We've been taught to, keep it in. Like, you're the rock of the family. You need to, but the reality is we need help.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And there are some ladies that don't want to hear that stuff. I think that might be some other issues or things that happen, but genuinely speaking, Kim appreciates that. And or she can give support, like, hey, we're doing okay. Look at all these other things that are going on. Like, a couple of weeks ago, my son had the #1 score in math.
Nice.
This clearly is not something I did because I'm horrible at math. But just thinking through, like, look at all the good things.
Yeah.
And my own pastor pointed out that I don't always see the best in everything first initially, and I'm like, I can see that now, and I'm like, oh, how do I fix that? How do I see the good stuff? So I've been starting to, like, I went trail riding with my son. I went camping 6 times this year. I've slept in a tent on the ground somewhere, and I think, anyway. But just thinking through, like, sharing those things. That's what I mean by yes, business-wise, profession-wise, because most people have normal somewhat regular jobs.
Right.
Those dreams too, but just like life dreams. What do you want life to look like? We talked about it, joked about it off show a couple of times. My dream is to sell this one day and buy a boat
Yeah.
and just go get lost somewhere. Sailboat.
Sailboat.
My wife and I have talked about that. We have some things we need to do ahead of time to make sure she does indeed like sailing.
Well, yeah.
Suck to spend $500,000 on a boat that you can't use.
Right.
But we've talked about those things. Like, hey, well, that's a dream I have, and she's okay with the idea. Let's make sure she's not just going to spend her whole life throwing up. So we got a couple of plans, like let's go do coastal cruising and basic keelboat 101. Like, let's go learn how to sail to see if it's something we want to do. Because if not, we got to have a discussion about what retirement looks like.
Right.
But those are things we've talked about, and that's what we mean by be vulnerable. Like, share your desires and your dreams. Like, it's not just I'm going to go through the 9 to 5 in January, and before you know it, it's the next January. It's what does 5 years from now look like? What does your next vacation look like? What are you struggling with, like in devotion life or meditation or cars that don't work? Whatever. Share those things. The important part would be, like we talked about, don't let the empty fumes of the process of life be taken out on your family, but share your desires together so you can build a vision and build a life together.
Definitely. You get different perspectives.
Yeah. And I do, I'm weird. I do that with all people. I mean, I've shared ideas with you.
Yeah.
You guys are going to be shocked at this. I share ideas with my mother-in-law all the time. You know, hey, what do you think about doing this? Not only because her kids are involved, but, you know, I genuinely value her opinion.
Right.
And my own parents. You know, I called my dad all the time. Hey, what do you think about this? Anyway. Being vulnerable, sharing dreams and desires, but not being like, there's not a negative way to put this. I mean, don't be like sappy like all the time.
No.
But just like when you're watching TV, you know, hey, what do you think about doing this? And ladies, don't just be grumpy about it or like, oh, that's a horrible idea. Talk about it. Like, if it's unrealistic for your family, that's fine, but have a discussion. You know?
Yeah.
We've debated whether or not to do the RV lifestyle. Just sell it all and the 5 of us live in an RV. I have tried homeschooling my children.
All right.
Selling everything and the 5 of us living in an RV and traveling the world is not practical if I want my kids to have an education.
Right.
So we tent camp. We're thinking about getting a pop-up one day.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I only work 10 months a year, and my wife can work anywhere there's internet. So maybe we camp in June and July.
There you go.
That would be cool. But we talked about it. We shared it. Like, hey, I'd really like to do this. Or, you know, the promotion doesn't go the way it was supposed to. Or you're looking for a new job because it's COVID, whatever.
Yeah.
Share those things. Like, you know, sometimes we're tired of being broke.
And it's not just about the struggles and the pains and everything. Share the good moments too.
Yeah.
You got to share those, because if you have a moment where you're with your son and he does something and you're like, wow, those are moments that you share as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Different things that happen throughout the day. Oh, I had a great day. I had a conversation with this passenger and it went like this, and they gave me a great tip or whatever. She wants to know about that too. There's nothing that says that we just have to be vulnerable in the aspect of we need to share what's hurting us. Like you said, ideas are great. Share your ideas. Share your good times. Share your bad times. Share the struggles, and that's marriage. If you can do all of that, your marriage should be going pretty well. You guys should be able to work through things if you guys are going to discuss. And again, like we talked about all last season, a lot of it was communication. Communicate. If you're not communicating, you're not growing. If you love your wife the same as you did when you started the marriage, you're not growing. You should love your wife more now today than you did when you started.
Yeah.
So
come on.
That's where we need to be at. Mm-hmm. That's as you grow. You've been married 15 years? I've been married to be 29 this year. So it's been struggles, and my wife is an amazing woman and has put up with a lot of guff from me. But now it's better. We communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm a guy. There's times I shut up.
Sure.
I go to my quiet time, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not talking to anybody.
And after some time, our wives can sense that.
Oh, absolutely.
Kim will come to me sometimes like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yep.
Like, what are you talking about? You're not. I'm genuinely funny. This is not my own opinion. People have said this about me. I'm genuinely pretty lighthearted and funny all the time. And when I'm not, Kim will be like, "Hey, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And that's just something's going on. Something's in my head. And she'll drag it out of me, and then we'll be okay.
Yeah. That's how we grow. That's
Yeah.
how we get better. I love
And
it.
they same thing. Like, let your wives share their desires and vulnerability, and
Yeah.
let them ugly cry it out. And then
Yeah.
if they want you to fix it, help them fix it.
Definitely.
I
Go
love
watch
you.
our other ones.
I love you guys. Ugly crying is okay.
Yeah.
I'm getting so much trouble for that.
It's all right. Go.
I said what I said. Come at me.
Go check out last year's if you haven't seen them on the communicating and stuff like
Yes,
that.
all of the communication.
Yeah.
ones.
Absolutely, they're great videos. I think they have great suggestions. Again, like you always say at the end of these, we're not medical professionals, we're not mental health professionals,
No.
but we've been doing this, and
Yeah, we have been married.
We're well above the average.
I read a thing on
marriage.
Facebook that said marriages last 8 years. How long have you been married? And
Yeah.
I'm like, 15.
Yeah,
Good grief. I'm almost at 2 of these.
right. And that's
Hey.
where it's just like,
Where's my
Man.
participation trophy?
yeah, but that comes at the end of it.
It's hanging on my truck keys because it doesn't fit on my finger anymore.
Yeah, I know. I haven't worn mine in a long time,
I
but
took mine off to play drums 5 years ago.
never put it back on.
It doesn't fit. I
Doesn't
couldn't get
fit?
it back
Oh,
on.
goodness
My
gracious.
fingers swell up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't get back on. Anyway, we are out of time, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. MyWifeStillLikesMe.com. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell your friends, please. Tell your
Yes.
friends. We want more people to stay married longer. Again, we are not mental health professionals. If you need marriage counseling, marriage help, any kind of mental help, please seek a professional because we are not it. We are just two guys who have been married for a long time
That's right.
who think you can do better because we can do better.
Yes.
Right? See ya.